Into the casual gaming conversation. I'm Connor. That's Nick. This week joining us is Brady to talk about Silent Hill 2 Remake. Going to be a really fun discussion. Brady, how we doing?
We're doing good. I enjoyed Silent Hill 2 so much, but I'm so happy to not be scared anymore. I can sleep and not think there's monsters in my closet.
It's so funny that you guys say that because like all I want to do right now is play more Silent Hill 2. I've beaten it and like I haven't stopped thinking about it and I just want to go again. So
when I was playing it, and we'll talk a lot about Silent Hill 2 when we get into the podcast proper, but while I was playing it, I was like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. I'm so scared. And then, like, as I pushed forward, I got less scared as the game went on, like, as you do in most horror games, as you get more power-ups and everything. But the moments I weren't playing this game, I was like, oh, man, I can't wait to get back to Silent Hill 2. This game's really freaking good.
Yeah, I mean, I was grinding it, and had to work all day, and then I was just, all I could think about is, man, I can't wait to go home and play 6 hours. And that's, like, not sarcasm. Like, I told Nick earlier, like, you know the game's good when, like, I played the Plucky Squire before this. Not a bad game, but when I played 6 hours of Plucky Squire, it felt like I played 6 hours of Plucky Squire. 6 hours flew by when I was playing Silent Hill.
You know it's a good game when Brady's calling me to talk about it. Not me calling Brady, but Brady's calling me to talk about it.
Yeah, it was hard because I wanted to yap about it in Discord, but like I was like, we have this podcast that we do where I want to like kind of keep some of the surprise, and I just wanted to talk about it. It was such a great experience, and I just wanted to yap.
Nick and I would be talking about it, and we would be like, we should probably save this for the podcast, but then just keep talking about it.
Before we get into the housekeeping and everything, there's been some fun streams, but I want to talk on this podcast and just be like, the amount of issues we've had recording content, I just want to give the team the props because it has been a shit show for Connor and I the past 2 weekends, and we're shooting this on a Saturday night compared to a Sunday. The plan was to shoot it on a Saturday morning.
At 9 p.m.
Do you want to tell them why?
So we had a power outage that ruined the RE stream last week where the hurricane went and knocked down a bunch of trees, and it was a huge issue.
The tail end of the hurricane.
Yeah.
We weren't in like the really bad part, but we got like some like just it came through with high winds and rain and tore Nick's street apart.
Knocked trees down.
Like my street in particular, where Noah lives up the street, and I was like, "Hey, did you lose power?" He's like, "I lost power for a minute." I'm like, "Cool, I lost power for 2 days." So that destroyed that stream where Connor and I had to weather the storm of annoyance that was, hey, come over for Resident Evil and we're doing this and we're playing all day, and then that didn't happen, and then we tried again later that night. It didn't work, and so now I'm on stream all of October. You guys kind of will get into it and what we're streaming and everything, but Monday through Thursday I'm going to be on stream and it's going to be a lot of fun. But then we come over, we're ready to just enjoy a day of content, get our Sunday freed up. Brady's got a baby shower. Connor and I are going to be playing games, watching football. I get to go to church. It's a bunch of fun on a Sunday.
Not my baby shower. I'm going to somebody else's baby shower. I do not have any kids.
Yeah. No. But we go and we're really excited to shoot content this morning. And surely enough, Brady comes over, Connor comes over, and we shoot a video. Half a video. And then all of a sudden chainsaws just start going crazy outside. And for me, this wasn't the first time. On Friday, there were people working outside and cutting down the trees that were already fallen. And now they're back and they're finishing some things up. And we go and we ask them, we're like, hey, I walk down the street and I find a worker and I'm just like, hey, when will this stop? I say it a lot more politely and I have a normal conversation. But that was the crux of the conversation. And he's like, oh, we're going to be done by noon, 12:30ish. And I was like, great, awesome. Connor and I can go and play some games for a couple hours. Brady can screw off for a bit, and we'll just be back at noon. We can all get back here at noon, and then they're still here, and they're still going. We actually shoot a full video when we get back, and then people got back from lunch, and I went back out, and they're like, oh, 2 other trees were nervous are going to like fall down because of the storm, and they're like cracked in half. We need to take certain branches down. We're going to be going all day, and all Monday, and all Tuesday, and I'm like, and so we have a meeting. We're trying to figure out how we're going to do this, and we decided to push the podcast to tonight. So thank you, boys, for being flexible and rocking with this, because this conversation had to happen today. We were all so stoked. We're all excited. And I'm like, this week of content's been so much fun, and this feels like the peak of it, where normally when we're doing a podcast like this, I like to have multiple reviews and a lot of interesting things. We got Brady, we got Silent Hill, and that is enough. I'm very, very excited. Brady, how are you feeling just being back on the podcast? This is your first time in what, 4 or 5 months?
It's been a while. I'm excited. I'm excited to yap it up with you boys. I'm excited to do a draft later. That's going to be very fun. Yeah, I'm excited to share our thoughts on this game because we've been holding back a little bit. I know we said we've been yapping here and there on the phone, and Connor and I have been yapping at work, but I'm excited to get into the nitty gritty of it.
I'm excited too. I want to also make an announcement. I'm calling it audible on Connor because I thought of my hot take before this, and I think it's going to be best served, my hot take in particular. You can do yours still after housekeeping, after our Silent Hill 2 conversation.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. Sounds good. Housekeeping for you, real fast, running through the schedule. We have Twitch streams Monday through Thursday, 7 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. Mondays, the whole crew, all three of us playing Until Dawn was a lot of fun. So if you want to come watch that for all of October, it's going to be a blast.
We had Freddie Mercury. We had Bring It On. We had Hat. It was a great time.
That's all the characters. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, that'll catch you up. But yeah, we're playing the remake, which isn't like the best version of the game apparently, but it was available, and we're like, screw it, let's do that for all of October. Nick and I are playing Resident Evil 5 on Wednesdays. That was a ton of fun as well. That is appointment viewing, so come watch Nick and I yap it up and hang out and play Resident Evil 5. It was a lot of fun. And then Tuesday and Thursdays, Nick is playing Mass Effect 2. Nick got Morden. We got Garrus. He ran into Tally for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness.
Tally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never played Mass Effect.
I just want to say with the streaming schedule right now, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I love my streams. They're a bunch of fun. These horror streams that we're doing on Monday and Wednesday, Connor said it, appointment viewing. Like, these are some of the best streams we will do this year.
Super
for
fun.
sure.
The Ohio Retro Gaming Convention coming up November 2nd. We have a panel, 11:30 to 12, and we're doing a meet and greet that night at 16-Bit Barcade in Columbus, Ohio. So if you want to come hang out with us, come to the panel. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make your plans. We're going to be hanging out. It's going to be a blast.
I just want to reiterate it one more time because I feel like this gets like shoved into housekeeping. We're doing a meet and greet. You guys can come and kick it with us, hang out with us, take back the night with us and the entire Co-op 64 community. Everyone in our Discord seems to be super excited for all the people that are going. If you are somewhat local, like if it's a couple hour drive, the convention itself is going to be a blast. And if you like retro gaming, there's a lot of fun. The panel's going to be a lot of fun. But you also will have an understanding of, if you're a fan of this channel, there's 20, 30, we don't know how many people, but it seems like there's a great group rolling in. There's a bunch of people that are awesome and super nice, and I promise that if you see somebody wearing a Co-op 64 piece of merch or whatever, and you want to talk to them about the channel, but more importantly, just about games and see a friendly face and have fun conversation, it will be an easy and awesome social experience. So just, if that sounds up your alley, like, it doesn't even need to be necessarily all about us. It can be, you just want to go to this convention. Our community is going to be there. It's going to be fucking awesome. And if you're part of that, just make sure you're also awesome and represent well.
Speaking of up your alley, Allie will be there.
Yeah, one of our moderators.
There you go. If you want to stay up to date on stuff like Torg and our streaming schedule, join the Discord and join the community. There's a link in our bio on TikTok for that, as well as a link to our merch if you want to come support the channel that way. We have shirts, hoodies, and mugs. And finally, be sure to leave nice reviews on Apple Podcast Services. It gets the show to other people and gets it in front of them. So we would really appreciate that. Alrighty.
Before we get into it, the reason I was laughing during the rest of housekeeping was Brady brought up Allie, and all I can think of is the Until Dawn stream where Brady and I, for maybe 90 seconds, just went back and forth going, aloha, Allie, aloha, Allie. And like for some reason, it was just a constant loop where, you know, when you say something enough times, it sort of just loses its like luster. Yeah, it just sounds wrong. It got to that point, and it was like, Brady and I were laughing and having fun. Connor was like, what the fuck are these two morons doing?
Are you getting into hot takes right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I just look over and all I see is Connor's hot take. I won't say the word because I want you to get it, but it's just hot take and then one word. So I'm so curious to see where this is going.
All right.
Please tell us.
My gaming hot take for this week is that people need to put respect on the year that SEGA is currently having. They are currently having the best year of any developer in 2024. It's wild. You have Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. You have Unicorn Overlord. You have Metaphor ReFantazio, now one of the front runners for Game of the Year. You have Persona 3 Reload. You have Sonic Sonic X Shadow Generations coming up. Sega is a game publisher that obviously they used to make consoles and have fallen from grace a little bit. They're not exactly like in that upper echelon. You have like your Square Enix, but this year they very much are. Their output has been insane this year, and people need to put some respect on Sega in 2024.
We talk often about Capcom becoming Cap God with like the run of games that they have every now and then, where it's like 1 or 2 bangers a year, where it's like, oh, these are not just like
it's like a Monster Hunter and a Resident Evil in 1 year. It's
yeah,
like, oh,
like,
god damn, that's
they're
a
just
good
like
year.
how Street Fighter, like there's just bangers in Cap God's arsenal at this point. And then like it feels like Atlas especially is helping carry this quite a bit, but Sega overall is having one of those years where it's like, oh shit, we need to seriously sit down, put some respect on their name. I'm so stoked to hop into Metaphor. Like, I have a time issue, obviously being on stream 4 days a week and not having a ton of time to play games off stream. But geez Louise, I will find the time to play Metaphor because every person I've talked to is loving it. And the best part of this game is the people that are like, oh, I'm going to play like 3-4 hours. I'm just going to hop in for a little bit and like try it out and to see what's up. Everyone's getting hooked. And that excites me so much as someone that isn't always into a turn-based JRPG, but this sounds like a banger. Brady points to himself and is like, yeah, is that gonna... Are you in?
Like you just said, you took the words out of my mouth. I'm gonna hop in and try it, and then who knows? Maybe I'll get hooked. Maybe I'll start playing more RPG or JRPGs.
Brady, let's go.
If Brady goes and becomes the biggest Metaphor fan ever and like really starts fucking with Persona, that would be the best and craziest arc that like going into 2025. If Brady one day comes to me, he's like, hey Nick, for group stream I want to play a JRPG, I will shit my pants.
That'd be awesome. That'd be great.
Like I said, I don't want to get into my hot take because it's not about Silent Hill 2 necessarily, but it we'll hop into it later. But are we now in Silent Hill proper?
Yeah, let's go.
We're entering Silent Hill, dude.
In my restless dreams, I see that town.
Connor.
Oh my god.
We shot the short form before this, so we're now going to just have a general discussion, but we're going to kick it off, I assume, with overall thoughts. I need you to kick this review off because not only are you, I believe, the highest on this game, but the way you talk about this game makes me love video games. Like when you have a review like this, when you have a game like this, and somebody's able to discuss it in the way that I'm not saying Connor's about to say like magic words or anything, but like bring the hype and have it this amount of energy. It is why I love games, and that's why I'm so excited for this podcast, because the way Connor's been talking about this game, and he hasn't been able to go all out yet. We haven't been able to have this 45-minute to an hour to 2-hour conversation to 3 hours. We're talking about Silent Hill for 4 hours tonight, Brady. We're going till 1 a.m.
Connor,
Connor,
the shit down.
Connor, what do you think of Silent Hill 2?
Yeah, so playing this game for the last week, I was just completely enamored with it, totally smitten with it. I know a lot of people have been banging the drum for the last few decades when it comes to Silent Hill as a franchise. The people who love Silent Hill love Silent Hill, and Silent Hill 2 is the cream of the crop. And having not played the original and playing the remake now, I get it. I have seen the light of Silent Hill 2. We're really kind of seeing the darkness.
I was going to say, that's pretty ironic considering you can't see shit in that game.
Experience the horror that this game has to offer. I am totally smitten with it. I love this game so much. I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10. I was obsessed with this game, and now that I've finished it, all I want to do is go through it again. And unfortunately I have to play other amazing games like Metaphor and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, but gosh darn it, I want to get back into this town, just feel the immersion that this game gives, and I just absolutely love it.
Do you think you'll play the remake, it's like Silent Hill 2 remake again, or you'll play the original, or you play a different Silent Hill? What are you going to do when you go back to this?
Probably play the remake again, but I'm really interested in Silent Hill 3 at this point. I've heard that's the scariest one, a lot of people say. So I really just, it's like we said before in the short form review, like this game isn't like scary. There's not jump scares. It's just so overwhelmingly intense at all points. Right. The darkness in this game is so dark. Your flashlight doesn't do shit, dude.
No.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's an absolutely miserable experience, and I fucking loved every second of it. It's so good. It's so good.
I'm gonna hop in with my quick thoughts before I turn it over to Brady because I want to follow up on this point that Connor's having. The way I've described this game to not just people on our Discord, not just to each other in our conversations that we had throughout playing it, but to a lot of my friends that don't play video games, I'm playing this horror game right now, and the only way I can describe it is this game runs up to you like full tilt, chokes you out, and doesn't let you go every single second you're on the sticks. Like you feel like you are suffocating in the darkness, in the fog, in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that's all created by the music and the characters and the enemy design and the setting. Like every single moment that you're playing this game, you are fucking so stressed. I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. I think that this is a great game. I think it's one of the best of this year. I think it is a contender, aka one of the top 10 potential games of this year. Like I easily see it on my list.
Top 3 for me. Right now.
Connor is crazy high on it, and I understand where you're coming from because what this game does well, it fucking sings. Like the story in this game, super interesting. Connor and I were having conversations about the story this morning, and we will do we'll get to the story points like towards the end of the podcast, and then we will do a spoiler-filled little section that we will let you know, and we will do a full-on spoiler like. We will make it very clear when we are going to start spoiling this game, and then we will also time code it, so be prepared for that. Anyways, the story of this game is so freaking good. Like, there's so many great things that I can talk about when it comes to top level thoughts. Like, it fucking nails the puzzles. Oh my gosh, this is some of the best puzzle design I've seen in any game, and all of them are interesting and creepy. And the amount of times that like they make James stick his hand in a hole.
Oh, man.
Why would they
And you have
do
to press
that?
it
It's so
twice.
crazy.
You hit 1
Yeah.
and then 2 to
Or when he
grab
like
the thing.
jumps, yeah, you were like,
He loves jumping in holes.
It's like,
Yeah.
I said jump, and then you're like, are you sure?
And this game does that for a reason. It's all game design to be like, we're going to make every single thing you do in this game uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. Just to get it in a couple quick bad notes, just to top level it. Like, I do adore the atmosphere. I do adore the characters. I think the performances are amazing. But like, this game's freaking long. This game is too long. There's so many sections that all I wanted to do was get out of. Like, there are pretty clearly defined section to sections where like there's really natural breakpoints, and I felt like before like I would be like 75% into a section and be like, this is where it should end, and then it would be like, no, you got another puzzle to do, no, you got another monster to fight, no, go down this floor or go up this floor. And I'm just like, I kind of just want to see the next set piece. I want to be in that next area. And it also lessened the tension for me a bit, which like this game does something extremely well. It is building tension. And I almost was upset when the game sort of let me loose a little bit. It was like, oh, you can like breathe a little bit because you've seen the monsters. You've seen the area. You know what is coming around the corner because you've been around here for so long. And that happened almost, I would say like 3/4 of the sections in this game. I was like, all right, I'm no longer like petrified. I'm just pretty scared. Like the way you're gonna scare me right now is a jump scare. It's not through the atmospheric setting and music and enemy design. And so I do need to like there's reasons I'm not as high as Connor on this game.
I just feel like the areas change. Like even when you're in one area for a long time, you get that second phase of it, or the twist and the turn of the environmental changes that always kept me enamored. And then like when it changed, it was almost always better. For like more scary, more immersive.
It was better, but more scary, definitely.
Yeah, definitely more scary. My issue was those, in my opinion, are two different sections. Where like even the section before it, you're talking about one section being like a full thing.
Yeah,
I'm saying the first 50% is what I'm talking about, and 40% of that first 50% or 90% of that first 50% is really scary, and then I get to that later 10%, 20% of that section. I'm like, do we really need to do another puzzle right now? Do we really need to throw me in 3 or 4 more rooms? And then every now and then this game does a great job of like pointing you in the right direction. You're going to get lost because there's so many corridors and so many
I only got
different
lost one time, and it was at the same spot Brady got lost.
Really?
Which
That's
was
why.
in the first main area where you had to hear somebody doing something or whatever. And you're like, yeah.
Dude, that was a funny story. Yeah, that area we got lost in. My wife was around when I was playing the game, and she was like, "Why is this so scary?" I was like, "Here, freaking put these headphones on." And then I was just walking around, and then she was like, "I hear this noise," and I'm like, "I have not heard that noise before." And then she was like, "Yeah, I hear this. It's getting louder." And I'm like, "Freaking give me the headset." And of course, that's when I stumbled upon it when I like gave her the headset.
Shout out Jess. I mean, but I do have flaws in this game. But when I think of like the best of the best this year, I think of titles like Helldivers 2 and Stellar Blade and Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Like these are all titles that I love for very specific reasons. I love this game because of the atmosphere, the music, the world, the story. All that is extremely interesting. I think it's long in the tooth, and certain gameplay mechanics are a little bit less than, and enemy design at a certain point is a little bit less than. Don't get me wrong when I say those are the negatives. That's why I'm not as high, but like everything else is fucking great in this game. Brady, overall thoughts?
I mean, you kind of hit it on the money. I had very few gripes with it, but you just hit all of them. My biggest gripe is kind of the same thing with it being a little too long. Which the crazy thing is Connor beat it in 13 and a half hours. It took me 15 and a half hours.
I don't know how I beat it this fast, but like honestly, like with what we were saying about it feeling really tense, like I'm going through rooms, I'm opening every single door really fast, and then, okay, give me, and then go to the next thing, shoot the thing, and get the puzzle piece, and like just go. I wanted to see what was next. I didn't really feel like I was particularly rushing in like any capacity, like just going by stuff.
Yeah.
But like, and I felt really thorough. I don't know how I finished it that
It was
fast.
funny. I planned out with a lot of my routes where I was like going to be in a room and I'm like, okay, it's telling me I need to go there. I'm just going to assume that door is going to be locked because most time the door you're trying to get into is locked and you need to break a wall down to get into it from a side room and everything. I'm going to assume that that's there. And then I like am like in a safe area. And then I planned it out and I
would do the same thing.
Running. But yeah, it's great.
Two things. And I would plan out my routes like when I was in a safe room. And it was so funny. We talked about how dark it was. I would like if I would plan my route out, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. Take a left, take a right, take a left, get to this door. And then I would go out that door and it would be dark as shit. And I would find a wall and I would hug the wall until I figured out I needed to take a right.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
You did that.
I was opening the map in the open every once in a while. I'd just be like, okay, please don't touch me, please don't touch me. And then sometimes something would hit me in the back. I'm like, damn it.
For me, it would be a similar experience of I would walk out, but instead of hugging the wall, I would go, oh shit, I forgot every single thing that I planned initially.
Me too. I would run back into the room and be like, let's try this again.
Yep.
And then I would like plan my route out, and then I would be like, all right, I think I'm here. Open the map and be like, that's not fucking where I meant to go. I'm like across the other side of the map.
I beat the game last night, and I took a picture of the amount of time it took me to beat. It took me 14 and a half hours.
I took a picture of my stats, too.
I just wanted to make sure
I think I might have been closer to 14.
Yeah, so 14 and a half for me. I said, I think 16 on the short form because it felt at times like the clock in the game must be a little bit weird where like it wasn't giving. I was like, I think I would pause and it might not count that time as I probably shouldn't.
Sorry, it took
but I
me.
would.
Sorry. To
No, but I would have the like map up on the pause screen as I just need a break from the music for a bit. Like I was doing whatever it took to cut the tension a little bit. Like it almost no joke felt like this game was a shot of alcohol, and it's like you give me some rocks, like give me anything to just make it a little bit more palpable. And just as somebody, I am so scared. Like I have absolutely shown up and shown out for some of these horror games in the past couple years to be on these reviews.
We didn't think you were going to beat it.
Brady and Connor both.
We were talking that shit to make sure you did beat it because you would do it out of spite at that point.
No, but you guys know how I run at this point. It's never the spite that does it. It is the content. I would not allow a Silent Hill 2 podcast and not have me on it because I'm a wimp. I need to show up and be part of it. I'm so sorry. I've interrupted your short.
Oh no, you're
like
good.
6 times.
No, you're totally fine. I mean, that's what this podcast is for.
But
baby.
that's the
We're yapping it
I
up.
was about to say we're
excited.
We shot the short form before this for the first time ever in our podcast history. Yeah, and it is what I like to call delightful because then we get to run on these tangents.
Anyway, it took me 16 hours and 15 minutes to beat it. That's the second thing I was gonna say. With a lot of the doors are locked, and I told Connor this at work. I would be like terrified playing it, and I would go up the doors and I'd be like, "Please don't fucking open. I don't want more space. I don't want to have to go in this room right now." If it would lock, I would be like, "Nice."
For me, another issue I have with this game. I'm probably during this entire podcast going to mainly focus on the issues because I think that we're all so high on it, where it's like fun, not fun, but it almost feels like you have to sort of nitpick it. Like that's the interesting
You
aspect
said that,
of it.
Connor said that in the short form. You really do have to like think about problems because there's no major problems. But yeah, don't get caught up on us talking about all the major problems. But that's because it is a great game.
Yeah, and so
what would you give it?
I give it a 8, or sorry, not an 8.5. I give it a 9, solid 9. So you gave it a 9.5. I went 9. Nick went 8.5.
And if you like don't understand our scores and like how we score games and everything, a 9 is an amazing game. That is a really, really strong score. I've given plenty of 9s to games that I consider all timers, and the fact that Connor is at a 9.5 out of 10, talking to Connor about this game and the way that he discussed it outside of content, and we were always just like 15-minute phone call, only 2 minutes of it about Silent Hill 2. Every single moment it would be, I fucking love this game. And so I was like, you got to give. I hope that he gave it a 9.5. For you, where are you at with this amongst horror games right now?
I mean, like when it comes to pure horror, like we were talking about, like the likes of Resident Evil 4. Like for the genre, but when it comes to like being a horror experience, this is my favorite horror experience I've ever had.
Same.
Great, because that's going to get me into my hot take for this week.
Oh wow,
I do believe that Alan Wake 2 is the greatest horror game of all time.
When you say it's the greatest horror game, not that it's scarier, right?
I don't mean that it is scarier. I mean that it is a better all-over experience than something like Silent Hill 2, than Resident Evil 4, than any other horror experience I've ever had. I gave that game a 9.5 last year. It was my runner-up for Game of the Year. That game, to me, is the definition of art, whether it is the unbelievable story, unbelievable gameplay, all that goodness. But then there's the moments like We Sing and the way it utilizes FMV. I absolutely love Alan Wake 2. I think that it is the greatest horror game of all time. I think that it needs to be put in the likes of Silent Hill 2, RE4, Dead Space, all those great games. That's my hot take for this week. I just wanted to throw that in there because I think it's important for this Silent Hill 2 conversation, because a lot of people have Silent Hill 2 as the GOAT.
Alan Wake 2 is definitely up there when it comes to scares, but it also just really I wish they just stripped out the jump scare moments completely from that game. I don't think it needs them, but it does like add to that. Like
for me, it's atmosphere, and more importantly, this is the best part of that game in my opinion. Every single thing, every single reason, even the little small nuances that a player can dislike, there's reason to it. There's a reason for the jump scares. It's not just jump scares for jump scares sake. There's a story reason for it, and the story reason is fucking cool. Alan Wake 2 is the definition of like just really cool shit the entire fucking time. I'm so excited to play this game.
That's kind of how I feel about Silent Hill 2 though.
But
like, just every single moment of awe of like, oh, that's really cool. That's like, I can't believe they did this. Like, oh, this is where we're going next. That's a really cool environment to get to explore. Like, I keep saying the word smitten because like that's like how I was in love with this game. I was infatuated with
it. The funniest part is like Connor's like, when Connor says a word like smitten, I think like cute and cuddly and happy.
Right.
And, like,
and we're talking
cheerful.
about Silent
We're talking about Silent Hill 2.
It's just one of those times where it's like I love video games, and like getting to go home and play Silent Hill 2, it's just like I love video games, man. Like this shit is so good when it comes to like the music, man. The music is so good in this game. We had talked about before, like about how in a lot of the top 10 like soundtracks lists, like this is up there on all of them. And when it comes to like the quiet moments where it's very ambient, it's like this is perfect. It's so
sometimes
creepy.
The music like isn't even music; it's just fucking scary sounds.
I think somebody said in our Discord, it was like, "Oh man, I love Silent Hill 2. The Silent Hill 2 soundtrack. You have to check this song out. It's just one ambient chord for like 10 minutes straight."
It is insane how immediately it grasps you, where it like the whole duration of this game, it's 16 hours, and like I said, there are moments where I got like a little bit less scared, but the setting and more importantly the music is freaking ridiculous. I want this just to have some sort of format. This is the setting conversation. You talk about setting, music, world building,
let's
all
talk
that.
about atmosphere and in the world and the town of Silent Hill. In the early hours, like when you're walking around the town, I was like, yeah, this is scary, but it's really when you get into those claustrophobic set piece moments where you're exploring a specific area that I was like, Yes, this is so good.
Once again, we're not going to get into direct spoilers of locations. We're going to try to keep everything vague enough where if you still have interest in this game, if you're curious to pick it up, this is no spoiler territory for a long duration of this podcast. I cannot believe how immediately terrified I was of the fog area. If you think of Silent Hill, you think of fog. This is once again not a spoiler. There's fog in Silent Hill too.
People were really worried about the amount of fog the Blooper team was putting in, and I think there's no worry there.
It feels like you're at an 80s hair band fucking concert. The amount of fog that's up in this, like it is
interesting,
fucking crazy. Where I'm not a jump scare person where like you can get me with the jump scare. That is how like you can scare me. But that is so cheap and no joke. Like I forget about it so fast. The way you fuck with me is don't do it. You don't like have scares and have like don't do the scare, but let me feel like you're going to scare me the entire time. It's like when I sit next to Connor during group stream and I'm consistently afraid he's going to grab my leg.
Yeah,
it's not that he does it; it's the fear that he's going to do it, and that's what keeps me on edge.
It spooks him. It gets him nervous.
Yeah, and that's what this game does. It makes my heart like become tense. Like my chest, it almost feels like you are playing football and you get the wind knocked out of you. And it's that experience the entire time.
The way that I talked about it is I felt like I couldn't breathe in certain sections.
Yeah.
Like I'm obviously breathing, but it feels so just like, and you just are pushing forward and but you always want to push forward because you want to see what's going to happen next and you want to see what next freaky environment you're going to be put into and you want to get that ammo and you want to get those health supplies and I just love it.
I mean, you got to push
so
forward
good.
if you want to beat the game. If I could beat the game just not pushing forward, I just would not have moved.
Yeah.
But
if you could have just stood still.
If I could have not been scared, I would have not.
But this game also does a great job of rewarding the player with different environments. Where if you push forward, I was always excited to, especially when I was getting to the end of a play session and putting this game down. I played this game in a weird way where I was staying up pretty late to make sure I get things done, post streams and everything. And it would be awesome to get to the end of an area and be like, all right, where are we going to next? And then you get to that next area and you go, fuck.
It's scarier.
I'm
That
gonna
was,
go home.
the progression was so good of like, I was like, this is surely the scariest location, right? Like, I'm freaked out right now. And it's like the next one would one up it, and the next one would one up it. I think that by the end, there's some that there's one more like 2/3 of the way through that I think is definitely the scariest. But like, it was just like, god damn, like they keep doing the damn thing. It's so good.
There's a moment I texted Connor and Brady about a certain area. It was the area I started with yesterday. If you guys couldn't piece that together, and I was like, this is the scariest area I've ever played in a video game, but this might also just be the scariest area I've ever seen depicted in media. Like, the way that it is making me feel. And once again, I'm not a huge horror fan. I'm not seeing everything. I'm not watching everything. So take that with a grain of salt. But the way it was making me feel was I couldn't even put it in the same ballpark of any other game or movie or even me walking out night outside in the graveyard and being young. Like it's that feeling of just tension and pure anxiety. And then I told Connor, the next session I got into, I was like, this is fucking scary for me. Like this is, because of the way that I felt a little bit more claustrophobic and it's not as open of a layout. And I was like, yep. This game continues to fucking do the damn thing with its environmental storytelling. And that's the other thing. The environment and the storytelling that go along with the environments are fucking awesome because the entire duration you're just like, why, what, who, where, when? And those questions are going to keep the player in. For my sake, for me, it kept me going, being like, I need to know why, I need to know where, I need to know when.
I'm sorry if you already said this, but is this the scariest game you've ever played?
Yeah, this is it's a weird thing because I did see y'all play PT when I was very young.
Yeah.
And
it's also Silent Hill.
Which I know is Silent Hill. But I remember seeing that when I was legitimately a impressionable teen or preteen and being like, there's images in that game that I was like, oh, this scarred me for life. There is images in this game, Silent Hill 2, that I went to bed on, I think it was Tuesday night, and I was up very late. It was the night that I wrote my fantasy article that I talked to y'all about, where I was up till 3 a.m. And I get in bed, and there was a shift, and I know what it was. It was a chocolate milk, it was it was the chocolate syrup that you put on ice cream or mix for chocolate milk, and it shifted in my fridge. So a noise was just made in my fridge. and I am in bed, and I have never felt so tense in my entire fucking life because of the fear that I just witnessed on screen. And a large part of it does the fear in this game for me doesn't come from the big enemy that is super well known in like if you know Silent Hill 2, you know this character and you know what they look like. That was never the scariest thing for me. It was the other fucking enemy designs and the way that they utilize body parts that I was can you imagine 3 a.m. hearing a shift, you're alone in your apartment. This shit was fucking terrifying.
The solution to this, cats. If you have cats and something shifts in your apartment, you're like, yeah, it's probably just a cat. Like they're probably just getting up to some tomfoolery.
It like, dude, Silent Hill took over it still has my like mind taken over. Like after I beat the game the next day, my nephew, who is like 7, came into work and there was like pallets separated and he was like hiding, trying to like scare my brother, his dad, and he's behind one pallet and he crawls to the next one, so you just see him shoot by crawling, and I'm like, fucking nope. Or we were playing frisbee golf today, which I beat Nick. We don't have to talk about that.
It was a great time. It was kismet.
Yeah, it was kismet. I'm glad you didn't beat me because I knew you would have been more obnoxious on the podcast about it and not let me down. So I was like sweating towards the end, hoping I beat you. Anyway,
it was close.
Yeah, we were playing and I walked by and there's kids' sunglasses on the ground in the middle of a hole. You call them holes in there?
Yeah, just holes. Yeah.
And I literally look at that and I was like, should probably pick that up to solve a puzzle.
Yeah, like
that's a part of a puzzle.
Brady legitimately just goes, he's like, Silent Hill 2. And I'm like, yeah. And I knew what he meant, but like, and there isn't an exact example, but the way that the environment and storytelling with the puzzles and the design of just random fucking items, and when you click on an item and the way that it can go and like hyper focus and make you feel like, is this a part of a puzzle? Is this part of the storytelling? What the fuck is this? Like, it is so eerie. It is so tense. Like, I think that we're going to probably, for another 45 to 50 times, talk about different examples and similes and metaphors of how tense this game made us, because that's what this game excels at.
In my restless dreams, I see that time. When I would go to sleep, I would see the game.
Yeah,
in my
me
head.
too.
And I had no problem falling asleep from the fear.
Well, I didn't have problems falling asleep. I would wake up and think there was somebody in my fucking closet.
Yeah, I had no problem with that. But I would see the game in my head and just like be like, man, like I was excited by it. I just was I was smitten with it.
Well,
dude.
I fucking once again, number one wimp. I hate this shit. I'm doing it just for content. Every single morning I woke up, I was like, I'm so excited to play more Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And that is a insane thing to go and talk about. In the same way the Connor's like talking about smitten being a word that I once again associate with like happiness and kindness. This game made me want to. It made my skin crawl, and then I was like, oh, I'm so excited to hop back in because the world and the storytelling and like just the overarching game is just so fucking inviting, and I love it. I just fucking love it.
So how did you guys feel like about the story? I mean, obviously it's a very famous, popular story. People love it. I love the story. I love the overall arching story, and it's really hard not to spoil anything right now. But
I love
it. But at the same time, I wish it was a little more spoon fed, because it is very thought provoking, and you're kind of like putting certain aspects to it to yourself. And I'm stupid, so I'm like, I don't know. I was about to say something to spoil it. We'll get to that later.
The way that I say this game's narrative, it like is told, it is unwind. Like it unwinds. Like it almost feels like somebody's like letting out a little bit of a fishing line, and you're just like,
people are talking fucking riddles.
Bit more and more.
Exactly.
And more.
Yeah.
No, but there is. It almost feels like until you get to the final moments of this game, you have no idea what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
If I like sat down next to Connor when I was probably even 15 or 16 and didn't understand really complex storytelling and didn't have to understand like, oh, all this will make sense at a certain point, I would have been almost frustrated with what was being said and like told. When you finish this game, I fucking adore the fact that I was like, I want to play this again because I now understand things, and I want to go and re-understand every single line of dialogue. I want to understand these characters better. I want to understand James better. Like, I fucking love the story. Con, how do you feel about the story?
Yeah, I loved the twists and turns. I loved the I think a big part of the story is the way that James is portrayed and his voice actor. I think that like the idea that he's just a normal guy searching for his wife, and like the way he talks is so tired and defeated, but like just hammers home that idea that he's just a dude. Like he's just a guy. He's not Leon Kennedy. He's not a badass. But he is just trudging forward with determination and embodying that as the player like feels really good and really immersive. So I think that his arc and his journey is really interesting. I think that the other characters, well, they all give great performances. They're talking in such a creepy way that almost the writing sometimes feels a little off, but I think it's supposed to feel a little off.
I was about to say, it almost feels like the writing team is quote unquote getting away with it, where it sounds like there are certain lyricists that I love in music that I'm like, how the fuck did he write this? And I'm just imagining it's gotta have like some deep meaning that's way further. And I can just imagine the writers of certain songs and this game being like, oh, we're pulling one over on these idiots. Like we're gonna just say something that sounds really fucking odd and off-putting. Go, like we're gonna make $1 million. Like it's that level of creepiness and eeriness, but it invites the player to be like, I want to know more about these dialogues and these conversations, and it makes the moments that you are around characters be like, fuck yeah.
And all the characters are super memorable, have like distinct aspects to them, and well, they aren't always cut and dry. When you finally get to the point where you really do kind of understand them, you're very satisfied with that conclusion of where they end up. So I really do love this story, and I did have it spoiled for me back in college. It was one of those situations where it was spoiled for me, and it was in the deep recesses of my mind. And then as I was playing it, I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I know this. I know what happens. I know like one of the key twists. So I was like, fuck, man. So it was tough.
We will get into a full spoiler discussion on the story, especially at the end of this podcast. I want to hop into gameplay next and general. Let's start with the combat, because this is a huge area where I have some issue, where I think that the combat is good. I think that it works a majority of the time. Connor said this in the short form, and I really do agree with it. There were certain shots that I thought that I hit, and it wouldn't give me, especially when it's a shotgun blast. Like if I'm shooting a shotgun and I feel like you are in my general range and I don't catch you, it feels not satisfying. Yeah, and for me, when I'm talking about horror game shotguns, it's all like it is Resident Evil 4. How's the shotgun feel? Very satisfying. Alan Wake 2, very satisfying. Like anything that has like that charged blast, like even Dead Space has certain weapons that I'm like, oh, like it feels like you are powerful in this moment where you're supposed to feel weak. The way that the game sort of took that away from you by being frustrating was not great in my opinion. But yeah, that's just a quick note for me. Like I think that the combat, especially with just the guns, especially, were just a little bit like, oh, this is all right. Like this is definitely not the thing that I'm going to be praising about this game.
I do wish the shotgun was a little more satisfying. Like when I was hitting, even when I was hitting shots with the shotgun, like it didn't feel as cool. Like I wish it did a little more like visual damage, you know, and kind of like blew them up or something, you know.
Had a little bit more kick to it.
Had a little more gore, but it was still fun. I agree. It's like it's on par. Like it's not like bad like gaming mechanics or anything, but the fighting. It's fighting. Like we talked on the phone a little bit. I ended up just meleeing a lot. That was my most used weapon, was the melee.
Me too, which I think is fascinating and really sets this game apart from its horror contemporaries. The way that you have to handle combat sequences where it's like, okay, like I can take a couple shots and then I should run up to them and hit them and finish them off that way. But then you have another enemy coming up behind you while you're hitting this person. So then you have to swing back, switch to your shotgun, turn around, blow them away. And then sometimes they get up after you're done with them and you're like, fuck. And then I have to finish them off again with the wooden plank. And it's like, I really do love the way that the combat starts to unwind. You start with just the wooden plank and then you get the pistol and the shotgun and so on and so forth. And it's like, I really do think it's a really interesting kind of cycle of gameplay with the usage of the limited tools, but you're always using all of them. And none of them, it's like, I don't want to use this at any point, because there's so few of them that like you would think that like half of the game you're like, I'm not using a wooden plank at all for the rest of the game. I have a gun now. It's like, It's like, no, He's like, you're going to use this the entire game, and it's satisfying. And when he fucking knocks one of those people down on the ground and then he's furiously just fucking slamming them, and I'm like, I am making sure
I was gonna
this
say
thing
that,
does
yeah.
not get back up, and I'm just beating him to death. Yeah,
they're-
and it's
they're-
like
the way
it's satisfying.
I feel like the plank and the melee combat is extremely satisfying. Like that is where the game sings, in my opinion, when it comes to the combat sequencing of when I'm hitting a dodge into a hit, it does feel great. I don't want to take away from that at all. And Connor's right. When you are finishing off an enemy, I was waiting till I was stomping people out every single time. Like I had to get to that level.
But sometimes you have multiple enemies around you, and you're like, I can't do that. And then one of them gets up while you're fighting the other ones. You're like,
sometimes they get back up too. That was this is one thing I don't think you noticed, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but some of the enemies hold weapons. Once they're finally like dead, they'll drop their they'll let go of it. So I'll just whack them until they drop that shit. I said this in the short form though too about the gameplay. It's super simple, which can sound bad, but it's in a good way. It's very simple because
it's not a combat focused game.
Exactly. It allows you to focus more on the world and the horror and the characters.
I do have a little bit of an issue though with item management versus bullet management versus the plank and everything of what I'm utilizing. I went through sections of this game only using melee, full on hour plus, where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna save my ammo now. I don't feel the need to use ammo.
And I'm dodging properly.
I was dodging properly every single time because it is very repetitive. All these movesets
I was getting
are
hit.
the exact same. I like the basic enemies that you face early on and continue to persist throughout the game. I was never getting hit.
They were
never.
If they were spinning up on you with their
Dodge to the
vomit or
right.
whatever, I would get hit every once in a while. No matter what.
And so I, at a certain point, went and built up an army worth of arsenal with my bullets, and then I was just like, oh, I'm gonna just take the next hour and a half with just ammo, and then I would destroy people. It was really funny. I had a point where I was very, very high numbers of ammo counts, and I went through all of it as I went through the next section because I just wanted to do it a little bit faster. And then I got all the way down, and I was like, cool, I'm just gonna go back to melee, and it was effective and it did its job. And then I repeated that cycle for the later 50% of this game because I was able to. And for me, that was an issue where Connor's talking about these
later 50%.
Yeah,
when there's a ton of enemies.
Because I would just back up and take one at a time and go melee, dodge, melee, dodge. It just was so repetitive. And
I never had that.
And that's when Connor talks about these sequences of turning shotgun, boom, and then turning back. For me, it was, if I had an enemy behind me, I dodge to the right, I let them swing forward, I dodge back, and now I have two people in front of me. I'm taking them one at a time. I'm taking my, if I have enough space, I was just using Call of Duty Zombies training and taking space and training and going one at a time.
Not me.
I was
getting hit.
And I'm not. Oh, don't get me wrong.
Even if I'm dodging properly, I'm still getting hit every once in a while.
I would trust me. I would
because I
hit
get greedy.
Same.
Yeah.
Take 2-3 hits, and then by the third hit, he's spitting up on you, and you're like, well, okay, I'm getting hit now.
That's the thing, though, where I would get greedy every now and then. And I'm not saying I didn't get hit in this game. I got hit plenty of times. But it was the basic enemies at a certain point. I was just like, I'm not getting hurt. And then as the enemies got a little bit later, I would get greedy once every now and then. But I would have enough shit because I'm not using any of my shit all the time to be like, all right, I'm going to pop a med real quick and then just continue on my way because I took 1 or 2 hits during that combat. I felt like horror is all about putting you in spots that it is I have 1 bullet in my shotgun, I have 2 bullets in my pistol, and I have my melee. I need to make sure that I shotgun the big enemy first and then take out one shot, one enemy, do a couple of hits, one shot the other, do a couple of hits, and that's how I take out 3 enemies. For me, it was I'm using my melee for all 3 enemies. I feel completely comfortable doing it, and I don't have any tension doing it. The way that they got me tense was the enemy design and the world, and that is what this game does, and it does well. But from a combat standpoint, that's why it is the number one reason, along with the length, that I'm I can't go. I think that this game has 10 out of 10 atmosphere. I can't get to that 9 out of 10 score because of the combat.
Dude, there was such creepy times where you would walk into a room and then there's one of those enemies standing in the corner, not moving, and you're like, that looks like an enemy, and then you're like, huh, that's weird, and then it just comes at you, and you're like,
twitches.
oh, shit.
It feels like you're you're playing. These guys are wide receivers. The ball gets hiked, and they got like the extra step on you every single time. It's awesome.
I was trying to think about this. There's a trophy in this game for playing it without the radio on, which I want to do so badly.
Oof,
without
dude,
the static.
there should be a
so
setting
good.
in this game to play it with the fucking lights on. Because I want to see the world more.
There is a mod that
Really?
for PC where
Okay,
people
good.
are like, they were like, it was like bright planes or whatever.
I might have to do that.
Oh,
whatever
so
it
for
is.
Silent Hill, Bright Plains?
Sorry, no, it wasn't that, but it was something like that. For like you can just see everything. It just removed all the fog or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
they're
That's fun.
also like 85% of the game, probably. I would say like 85% of the game. I had 0 health like items. Like I would like
85% of the game you had 0 health.
I mean,
items.
maybe a little less, but
Okay,
no, not that I
interesting.
had 0. I had 0 because I would pick them up and I would just immediately use them.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Because
I was trying to be. I was trying to think through it fully. Like if I was at very low health, I was
Yeah.
like, that's when I'll use a syringe. If I had something that I just needed to top off, I would utilize that the health drink or whatever.
Yeah.
But early in the game, really bad when it came to ammo and health items. I was very low for the entire first day.
I do want to shout out when I talked about the combat and my woes with it. Early in the game, very stressful, no ammo, and that's where there was tension. But that's also when I didn't fully understand the combat flow and the dodges that I was doing. We talk often about me being an Elden Lord on this podcast and having some sort of game sense and game flow to enemy design. It got really, really.
I just don't understand how
easy.
you're doing it. I had like a situation where I had multiple times where I could get hit, and I was in a courtyard, and there was 4 of like the basic enemies, and I died like 4 times.
There was a
Nick
moment I was
was
in a
easy.
courtyard, and there was a moment. I think I know the courtyard you're talking about.
Yeah.
If it's later in the game,
No, early.
or middle area of the game. No, early. Okay. There's a moment later in the game where you're in a little bit of a tighter courtyard, and you jump out a window to get to that area of
Yeah.
being outside, and there was 4 enemies, and they're all the basic enemies. I took 2 enemies out. I jumped back inside. After they were about to surround me, jumped back out, took the other 2 out, on my way. I never
It's just
felt
breaking
that.
the game.
That's
Yeah,
not, but
Nick's
no,
cheating.
it's you get in safety. If
I
I
know.
can get to safety,
No,
I'm
I
gonna
like to
get
party,
to fucking
dude.
safety.
I like to
I'm playing
party.
the game. Like
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about like how I can like kind of cheese certain scenarios.
But that's not.
That is a cheese.
They can't come over the freaking
Exactly.
way.
You're
That's-
cheesing
when they
it.
do come over and there's like crawl slide over,
Yeah.
you're like, that's
Oh,
creepy.
I don't like that.
Touching on the health a little bit more, can we talk about that setting that we?
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Turn off the HUD for the hue for when you're all in low health, because there'll be
Yeah.
like a blood like splatter on the sides.
Fuck that.
So
Did you turn it
annoying.
off?
I played the game for 30-ish% with it on, and mainly because you both turned off. And I was like, I want to give some sort of discussion point on
Yeah.
if somebody that did it the entire time, turn the shit off. It sucks.
It
Yeah.
does suck. But Connor was like, when you told me about that, I immediately turned it off. You were like, you can tell enough by like how he's like breathing and like slouching,
Hunched
and
over,
hunched
yeah.
over. But probably like 60% of the way through the game, I noticed, and I don't know if you guys noticed this.
It's on the controller.
It's on the controller.
Yeah.
The color on the controller, yeah. And
I
like
would look down,
pulses.
I would look
I would
down
literally be like, do I
constantly.
need to heal?
Which is not very immersive to like look down at the controller constantly,
Right,
but
right.
like it's better than how they had it, which
Yeah,
was
that
not
shit was-
immersive at all.
So I knew that I could look at the controller and I saw the green bar and then I saw it go yellow and red as
Yeah,
the game.
yeah.
Just naturally, I wasn't looking to check, but I
I
would go
was.
in, get a text from my phone, and I would see, oh, I have yellow health.
Yellow.
did you notice if you were in your inventory, it would change the color of all of your items?
Yeah, if you like hit the mid or like the center button or
No.
whatever. It would,
Yeah, yeah.
It would like if you were really hurt, it would make it like discolored.
which
and,
I
like,
thought
red.
that I was like, I'm turning that off. Can't turn it off.
No, I didn't like look at enough
I-
to
yeah, I
like.
was-
I did apparently because
Yeah,
it
to get it
affected my
annoying.
ending.
Yeah,
I didn't do it on purpose.
So
yeah.
I went with this when I was doing the colorization and everything and trying to understand how hurt he was. I checked the back of his jacket.
Yeah, it had, like,
there's
splatter. Yeah,
because
me too.
for me, I was like, there's one splat on his collar. That means I have 1 damage on me. There's 2 splats. I got 2 damage.
Yeah.
And 3, I'm real hurt. And give daddy a syringe.
One thing I mentioned in my short form that we haven't really touched on is a mechanical issue that I had in some of the fighting, like some of the bigger fights, is when you I would be running and try to pick something up, and I just couldn't get the right
Yep.
angle on it to just fucking pick
I
it up. And
have
I'm
that
like,
issue as well every once in a while.
I also, there's a moment where you are dragging something slowly through a corridor and you're going really slow.
Yeah.
You guys both know the area I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
my game was like broken during that moment. It would not let me properly go through the area, and it took me like 6 minutes to do it. And it's a basic like, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. Let me do it, and then it finally let me do it, and I was like, that's just annoying. But like, there are a few like mechanical hiccups where you're like, oh, this just isn't perfectly smooth. But I do want to genuinely shout out Bloober Team, because this game got shown off, and everyone was like, this doesn't look like it's going to run well. This looks like it is not polished. This looks very flat. You were going to take one of the greatest games ever and shit out a remake.
You get one shot at this.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, you can't remake it again in 10 years. Unless you're PlayStation. Got him.
Wait, we're getting Horizon in October?
Yeah.
I genuinely, like, from the bottom of my heart, as somebody that when you were watching those reactions, like, this doesn't look great. This game looks great.
I was fascinated by it. I was like, even if it's going to be like not great, I just want to know how it's going to turn out. This was like one of my most anticipated games because of this. It wasn't in my top 10 when we made that, but as it got closer and closer and the rumbling started happening of like, it's actually really good from the previews. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, is it going to actually turn out to be this great game? Yeah. And the fact that it's as great as it is, shout out to Bloober Team.
Initially, we didn't know if it was going to be a 1-person review, a 2-person review, a 3-person review for the team, where we talked about it. And as the hype continued, we're like, we're putting Brady on this?
Yeah,
like,
we're all playing
we're bringing out our pinch hitter here? Like, and like, the fact that they were able to impress and delight all of us and really immerse all of us in, like, the fact that there is probably 3, maybe 4 games this year that I'm like, oh, it's going to be on all of our top 10s for sure. Easily, 100%.
Could not have guessed that it would be Silent Hill 2
This is one.
No, right? I was shook. Yeah, this is definitely going to be in my top 5, if not top 3. Before we move on, though, the only other mechanical issue I really had was some parts at the end of the game, like walking was weird. Like when you had to like squeeze through stuff, I kind of got stuck and I would have to juke to get out of it.
Oh yeah,
I never had any of those
I had
problems.
to. You had to hit circle to like
get out because it wouldn't let me move.
Same.
That and then I mentioned this in the short form. The moving the like freaking carts around when you had to like climb over stuff. You can like only move in one direction at a time. It just did not feel
it's like
smooth
controls
at all.
Of a sudden. Like, like why are we doing this? It's like you have to move directly in. Like,
it was like, dude, I can't. I should be able to just do circles, but I can't. You have to go like one fucking
it's
way.
like a grid almost. And they're like, hey, we know this is a PS2, like, we're gonna make this a old feeling game. Like, and I think that but like, just to getting to the fact that I'm excited. You could have on our 2024 bingo card. Never would I have thought Bloober Team like redemption arc would be a headline that we discussed later in this year, and that is 100% what has happened with this team.
Give them the keys to the entire series when it comes to remakes.
More.
Like, I mean, like, I would like a new, and I think we're getting new Silent Hill games. Like, do Silent Hill 3 next to like go back to 1. I want more of them.
You want to turn me the fuck up? You want to get me going? Remake PT. Come on.
That's crazy.
Come on.
Dude, honestly, please
hour
get
and a half
us PT.
is super easy. Put it out for $30.
You don't have it, do you? You sold it? Dude, we need that's what.
No, it didn't cost anything. It was a demo, so like I just deleted it from my console. But I deleted it from my console because I was scared of looking at the menu. I was like, I'm sick of looking at this.
We need to hunt it down. We need to get a PS3 with that.
They're out there. They just cost like $1,000.
Yeah,
like,
they're
fucking
just worth it. Yeah, we will do it.
I genuinely would love to like.
What a bummer.
A stream, dude.
Imagine a Kojima fucking Silent Hill game. Like, I can't believe
wait,
we were.
You mean Overdose?
I mean, we don't know what that's going to be.
Yeah,
I bet it's a freaking movie at the end of the day. Like,
who knows? We were not hyped on Silent Hill 2 Remake. He can pull through. He's done it before.
Bloober Team just, like you said, give them the keys to the kingdom when it comes to remakes on this. The way that we live in a world where it is 2024 and Resident Evil and Silent Hill are putting out the best of the fucking best is a world I'm happy that we live in. As somebody that is #1 wimp.
Wimposaurus Rex.
The only reason and the only way I will play a horror game is if I understand that people are singing the praises and it's got a lot of great reviews and like there's an interesting hook that I'm like, okay, I'll pull the pants up real tight and be like, let's fucking ride. Like, we're gonna just have to deal with it. And this was an example where the reviews and the rumblings started coming out and just like, I'm playing this shit. Let's do it. And I'm so thankful that I don't have any other horror reviews for the rest of the year, right, Con?
I don't think so.
I don't think
Thank
there's any
God.
coming, so you should be
Well,
fine.
we still have one till dawn that we'll talk about on the pod
That's just
eventually.
not scary though. And you have us
dude,
there with you, so
so much fun streaming that game. The lights. Well, I
like doing a little dark stream.
It's
fun.
crazy. But yeah, I really appreciate this. Do we have anything on the docket for?
We can talk about puzzles a little bit. Do you want to touch on
just
that?
to. I said this in the short form, and I do want to reiterate it in a lot longer form. These puzzles are excellent. They are, when it comes to gameplay, it's the combat and the puzzles. Besides walking and environment and like traversing, those are your main two things that you're consistently doing in this game. I think that the gunplay is a little bit shallow. I think that the puzzles are excellent. The only issue I had was a runtime issue where I wish they were a little bit shorter at times because I wouldn't want to go puzzle into puzzle into puzzle into puzzle, and that this game makes you do it often. But as I'm playing the next puzzle after I finish one that I am like, I kind of don't want to do another one, I'm like, oh shit, this is also excellent. This is also gas.
All the pieces and all the puzzles are so creative, and like how they just like keep doing new like items and just new puzzles, and how creative they are was awesome.
As you get further in the game, there's certain puzzles that like fit the atmosphere really well.
Yeah.
And like when we get into spoilers, we will probably talk about one of these areas in particular. The way that they're able to utilize puzzle and perfectly match it with what the game is excelling at, which is atmosphere, and be like, we're going to combine those two things to just make the puzzles even feel doper. Like the puzzle mechanics itself, they didn't have to go this hard when it comes to design and world with just puzzles. And they're like, no, we're going to absolutely fucking nail that too. Awesome.
Yeah, I love the puzzles in this game. But I'm a sucker for these kind of survival horror experience puzzles. Like it's very played out when it comes to, you know exactly what you're getting is what I mean. Like, but the way that it mixed in with the environment, I fucking loved it. I just thought it was so cool. There was some of them that I had to look up. I'm in a point in my life where if I just am totally stuck, I'm not gonna just struggle.
Well, that, and we were on like a time frame, so like
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna spend an extra hour in this section just because I can't figure the puzzle out.
No wonder you've been in 10 hours.
Yeah, he fucking cheated.
Well,
and he was playing on light mode. So.
No, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. That was Nate.
No, I played on
kidding.
normal.
I'm joking. That and before we move on, the puzzles, the map. I love how immersive the map is and how much you had to utilize the map. The map was so creative, and I really loved it.
In that last year, I didn't find the map for like a while. It's right when you walk in, so I was like, "Fuck, where am I supposed to go?"
It's
and I was
almost right next to the first save point. Like when you get into
I
new,
got
almost
it. I got
always,
it.
yeah.
I was just like, "What the fuck is?
Yeah,
where is it?" And there's a light shining directly on it. It's like, why the?
that's
on the bulletin board.
It's always you walk into a door and it's normally right in front of you when you get into a new section, or it's a left and a left, or a right and a right. Like it's never too difficult to find the stuff. And that's another thing that I want to credit the game with is a lot of these areas are very maze-like. You're going and like trying to open doors and open corridors. The fact that I multiple times had moments where I was like, I understand that this game is trying to tell me to do something and I am currently not getting it. And then I just think back of like, there's certain basic understandings you need with this game. One of them is there's breakable walls. Do they teach you that you can break walls pretty fast, only on certain sections where it's like there's a little bit of a crumble and water's dripping. You're like, oh, okay, that's a breakable wall. I understand that.
The white like rags that are like hanging from it.
Yeah.
Those I know people don't like that shit, but it's necessary.
Well,
Yeah, I like it.
in this game especially, it is because all of the walls are pretty decrepit and creepy anyway. So it's like, all right, I'm going to now like look out for that. As if you're trying to tell me to go to room 1, for example, and room 1 is not open, I'm like, okay, go to room 2. And now that's open. There's probably a wall that like allows me to break through.
Or crawl
like there's certain there's a moment where you're being chased by something and there's tension and you're just like, where the fuck do I need to go? I know where I need to go. I can see it, but I don't understand how to get it. And then you wrap around, go into a room and break a wall, and you're like, that's how you fucking do it, baby. Like it's so good.
The crawling under like in through a tight place always felt like something was gonna grab.
Especially when the radio was going, you're like, I have to crawl through this. And
The
there's
nice
somebody on the other side.
The nice part is the game does also with those moments. I feel like they could have gone away with cheap jump scare after cheap jump scare after cheap jump scare, and it always is it does fear so well, where it's not the fear that you can consistently see, it's the idea of what you can't see, and that terrifies you even more. There's a moment where like you like look down and you're just like, wait, is that? Oh shit! Like that happens all the time. Where like you just catch a glimpse, whether it's in you're in fog or darkness, you catch a glimpse of something, and you're like, I don't know exactly what that is, and that makes it way worse than actually knowing what it is, and it does it excellently.
I think there's only one cheap jump scare in this game, and we could talk about it in the spoiler section. We're gonna get into spoilers right now.
We're gonna take like a little bit more. We are going to spoil this game. We will be talking about the ending. We will be talking about different atmospheric points. We will be talking about certain setting points. We will be talking about characters. We will be talking about their stories. We will be spoiling this game. Once again, we will clearly have time codes that will go and take you to the draft at the end of this. And that's where you can go and have the rest of our conversation. But this has been your spoiler-free area in review of Silent Hill 2. Let's talk some motherfucking spoilers.
So the only cheap jump scare is when you're in the hospital and you are on the roof and you open the door like to go back out and Pyramid Head grabs you or whatever. That shit was fuck me
There
up.
was that, and then there's other just like small little things which you might not even have gotten. It's like when you're in a bathroom and you're like searching the bathroom, and then all of a sudden like somebody just bangs on one of the stalls really loud, dude. And you're like, "What the fuck was that?" Dude?
And then,
or with
like,
the doors,
you'll hear like somebody talking or like whispering. Did you play with headphones on?
The entire time.
Me too. And Nick was like, "I couldn't do that."
Yeah, the chainsaws would go in on Friday, like in the morning. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put headphones on and like just find some time to go and like get some time in on the game. And I was like, nope, too scary, not happening. I'm playing.
So that was always really creepy. But let's talk about the ending real fast.
We're hopping straight into the ending.
Yeah. That's the main, I think, talking point with the spoilers.
Well, this game, like I said, unwinds very, very well. And then, because I'm just curious, I'm like, what the fuck is actually going to happen? And then you get to the moment where the spoiler that I thought Connor knew about this game was something that I sort of just like thought I was smart enough to figure out, which was that the enemy design, because you see it early in the game, all these like monsters that deal with body parts and like look super disfigured and everything. I was like, the wife is sick. Like Mary is sick. Like I figured that out. I was like, that is the thing that the twist. Well,
don't they say that she has a disease early in the game?
Yeah, there's something like that. But I'm like, he had to deal with that, and that he's like playing this out, the sickness, and fighting the sickness through this world. I thought that, like, I knew right away that like that is why there was these enemies. It's like, oh no, that's not the fucking twist. That's not the spoiler. This man is dealing with more sins beyond that.
Yeah. So speaking of the sins, Jess actually told me this because I guess Silent Hill is on her TikTok. Maybe because she's playing next to me and just hears me talking about it. But she brought up a really cool point. I think she saw a TikTok about it. But I told Nick this in the car, that Pyramid Head is like a personification of all of his like bad qualities.
Oh.
And like that are like kind of haunting him and he doesn't want to face them. And I'm like, that's kind of a cool thinking point.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking deep.
He's running away from his
Exactly.
insecurities. He's running away from all the things that he fucking hates. And at the end of the game, he faces those insecurities, and that's why Pyramid's heads.
This is his own like personal like tailored hell, and that's why like Angela, I think she sees the entire town burning all the time.
Yeah, towards the end they like did
so,
that. That's how I see it all the time.
Yeah, so like that's hers personally, and like Eddie is fighting like his bullies like constantly throughout the game, and that's his personal hell. So like it's really and then for Laura, I think she sees the town normally.
Yeah.
And she's just running around like kind of enjoying like writing on the walls and kind of like messing around with the adults.
I think that her hell that she's naive to is she's living in a hospital basically
I think she's
the entire
innocent.
time.
I think she's completely innocent.
I do too,
isn't living a hell. She's just kind of experiencing
but she's living. I think that she's sick. Like I think that she's also
they met in the hospital.
very, very sick. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think so. I think she was in the hospital and is better now.
But
and
like,
now is just kind of there.
why are you? I feel like the reason that you spend time with somebody in the hospital enough where you feel like she's your daughter, like because there's that line where Mary's like, "Hey, you are like a daughter to me." In the letter, my thought process was, "Oh, these two kicked it in the hospital because they both were ill and dying."
I don't know if she was ill and dying. Is my
okay. That's what my thought process was. But the fact that this game turns in a way where you realize that you would have been playing through somebody's hell because they kind of did something horrible, which is murdering their wife. And having that flash scene and really letting you just sit with it as the player, of almost like giving you the clarity of, my hands are so drenched in red. What have I done? And it really recontextualizes the game, every conversation you had,
and a
the
suppression
themes.
of the whole situation of just like not accepting it because he did something horrible, rather than just like not accepting that his wife is dead.
Yeah.
Like it helps kind of hammer that whole point home. And for me, I got the in the water ending where he drives into the lake and kills himself. Looks in the back, which was the spoiler that she's in the back of the car, which I think was a fan theory for the original Silent Hill 2, but is confirmed here that she is her dead body's in the back of the car. So he drives in, the letter plays, and he dies. And in my opinion, I know this is the bad ending, but I think this is the right ending.
I agree. I like your ending more. Because
Yeah.
it's like, it kind of like closes the story of him like
He can't deal
killing
with it.
himself.
He can't deal with it.
He can't deal with it, which I think is the correct ending. And then you and I got apparently the most common ending, where he just walks off with Laura happily.
Yeah.
Or, well, happily is a stretch.
He gets
but-
over his. He gets
Right.
over it.
He's like,
he accepts
yeah, exactly.
the truth, and there is that moment in our ending where he's like, "I hated you," and for me, that is like one of like I got goosebumps
literally
too,
got
talking about-
you-
like
yeah,
it
I
is
did too.
it is fucking bone chilling. It is like it is so beyond fucked up for somebody to say that, and we are in a room with this man who is alone, and he's able to just say like you could never utter those words to somebody that you love so much, and it's hate for something he fucking loves. Like,
But it feels like it's a very real,
Yeah.
palpable emotion that somebody can have. I think that happens to people. I think
Yeah.
people are burdened with these situations, and they might feel that feeling and don't like that feeling. And I totally get that. Like but it's hard. Like, these situations are really hard for people to deal with somebody that in sticking by somebody. It doesn't mean that what he did is right in
No.
any capacity, but it's like, there's some grayness to that whole situation that I think they play with really interestingly in the game's ending of like, she's like, well, I wanted to die. Like, this
Yeah.
is what I wanted. Like, and you put me out of my misery. And it's like, he's like, no, that's how I
He's
did
like,
it.
that's not.
Yeah.
why
I did it because I
it.
hated you. And it's like,
Oh, that was
well,
so crazy.
it's like I hated doing this. And it's like, I hated seeing you like this, and like, but like, there's just so much to play with there that I think is really interesting.
That also plays with the enemy design and
Yeah.
being facing off like disformed legs and everything, and like just like things that are just naturally uncomfortable and everything, and then also having nurses and everything, and being like, oh, you're just fighting legitimately this thing that you love becoming not what you remembered it to be,
Yeah.
and how terrifying that is. What like. I generally am a very thankful person where our family and our life, we don't have a ton of sickness, and like this isn't something that we think about too often, and like thank God and everything. But understanding that other people go through these emotions and feelings, especially whether losing a loved one or somebody has cancer, or like, it is so. It's a lot. that like sort of thematic handling is so much, and I think that the way that the story is told, and they allow for multiple endings and sort of let the player figure out and decide what their next course of action is, and understanding that James, this person that Connor said so eloquently, this guy is a dude. He's an everyman. He is not badass. He's not a hero. He's not someone you want to root for, because you're just like, oh man, you're going through a lot of shit right now. In the same way that thematically you want to root for somebody that is going through a lot of shit in their life, like, and then you realize, oh no, you're fucked up.
You're just sitting, you're
really
watching him
messed
do
up.
these, and you're like, why don't you just turn around?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's like
He
he can't. He can't go
can't.
back. He has to go forward.
And that's why I
he-
like the ending, your ending, a lot more, because it's like there is an end to it.
And then
There is.
let's talk
Yeah,
about the
same.
Maria ending a little bit here. Maria, obviously the individual in the town that it represents Mary, that represents like this kind of lust for him and want to move on from her and just go for somebody else. And they leave the town together. He gets Maria and she starts coughing, and he's like, you have to do something about that cough or whatever. And like,
I didn't even catch that.
yeah, you're gonna have to do something about that cough, and then the game ends. And like, it's like it's gonna loop again.
Yeah.
She's gonna get sick. He's gonna kill her, and he will find himself back in the situation. And then you have the echoes from the original game indicating that he's done this before.
Yeah.
That it's all looping and he's stuck in this constant cycle. And that's why I do think, like, once again, that the lake situation is an interesting conversation of, like, does this end the cycle, or is he gonna somehow be back, wake up in his bed and like go back to the town and get the letter?
I'm somebody that my favorite movie is Inception, and like the question marks that a movie like that leaves you with as you leave your seat and you want to look up a fucking video explaining the ending, and you want to have the conversations with like your friends in the same way that currently we're having the conversation about this. It is so well done. And like, I really often we come into these reviews, especially when I beat a game the day before or 2 days before, and I am riding up the high. When it comes to the mechanics of this game, I couldn't give it the nod to a 9, but I was like, if I were to, I'd have good reasoning because of the ending. I couldn't get it there. But like, this ending and the way that this story allows you to reflect on everything you saw prior, like, from the thematic sense of going into a abyss and being in a dark hole and like what that probably means mentally for James, and to being literally in the hospital and dealing with trauma there, being into a prison amongst his mind and being like, you get to the gallows puzzle and you were dealing with being guilty, like, and prisoners being guilty. You're just like, that makes a lot more sense now why they're making me fucking do something like this, because it's thematically rich. It makes sense. It's awesome. And even though this situation is so fucking nasty, I think that they nail the themes. And once again, we're talking about a game that came out 20 plus years ago that a lot of people are like, this shit's the greatest shit ever. And I think that we all safely can say, whether it's Brady and I getting goosebumps or Connor being smitten about this game, like, it fucking rules. Like, the storytelling rules. And it's about something that is so sad and brutal, but it's so interesting and done very well, to where like it's an interesting spot where all three of us are like, yeah, the conclusion of this game should be like the bad one. Like, that is such a awesome discussion. But like, we want the main character, after we understand what he went through and what he's done, we're like, we want him to have finality and not be like, because he is the bad guy. Like, he is not a great person, and you're put in a real shitty spot, but like, this isn't the hero stepping up to the plate and saving the damsel in distress. This is a man that is brutally fucked up, and it is way more like, I'm so thankful that the story ends the way it does and doesn't give you this like triumphant feeling, because that's not what this game is. It's about making the player feel uncomfortable. And as James lays that pillow over his wife's head, I'm more uncomfortable than I've ever been in a game, and I'm also more interested and intrigued on, oh, this makes a lot more sense now, and it's fucking awesome.
We need a smitten count on the video of this podcast for how many times we said
84.
that. Before we move on, I do want to say, you brought up Leon Kennedy earlier. James does give me Leon Kennedy vibes. He's like, if Leon Kennedy wasn't that cool, it was just a normal. Like, he's like Leon Kennedy if Leon Kennedy couldn't do a backflip.
It's Leon Kennedy after 9 to 5.
Right.
Like,
It's like Leon Kennedy. Yeah.
He's not working for special ops. He's working down at the paper store. Like,
exactly. Yeah. He's in advertisement.
Last spoiler tidbit that I want to talk about. With the prison, scariest bit.
I want to talk about the areas in this game just a little bit for spoilers, but continue on.
So prison with the lights turning dark or whatever, or like they'll you can turn the lights on, but there's a timer and it'll get dark again. Yeah. How often were you turning those on?
I like you and I talked about this at work. I did it like a couple times at first, but then I was like, one, these lights are not bright and they're doing nothing for me. Two, like, I'm just running as fast as I can. So I just stopped using them, and I was like, I just looked at my map and just would run.
Constantly. I turn them on all the time. And the main thing is the monster that's beneath the grate. I wanted to see when the feet were coming at me to be able to make that dodge.
During which section?
Prison. When you're in the main section and the grate under you.
The main section?
Like
Do you mean the labyrinth?
No, I mean the A block of the prison. When there's something under you.
No,
I don't think so. No, it's just crawlers on the ceiling.
Yeah, no,
really?
There's nothing on the ceiling.
I felt like there was something under me during that. Anyways, maybe I was just thinking things. Yeah, I got to the prison. I was like, this is the scariest section in any game I've ever played.
But the labyrinth is scarier.
I think the labyrinth is much scarier because the reason that it hit me a lot harder was you jump down the hole, and then you jump down the hole, and you're just fucking. I'm like, and I know that like the way that the world is designed, and when you jump down these holes and everything, you're not actually going hundreds of feet. Maybe you are, but like I was like, I am 300 feet under the ground right now, and I am in it. Like, if I were to watch a horror movie, I can understand and comprehend a prison really well. I cannot comprehend the labyrinth where I am moving a room by a key, basically a cube, and I am so fucking scared during it. I am petrified during it. I don't understand what I'm going to run into next. And then when you get to the moment where you're getting chased down by Pyramid Head at the end of the section with the ladders, fuck me, dude. Like, I am so on edge, terrified. It's not because of Pyramid Head. It's because it's Pyramid Head, and I need to climb up a ladder, and I'm 300 feet under the fucking ground. And I also am. This is just the way my brain works. I'm also like using spatial reasoning and the gravity of situations and feel like, am I? I know it's about to sound dumb, but like, am I vertical right now? Like in the world. Like, am I not on my own 2 feet right now because of the cube being moved and everything? And I'm trying to just reason with what is happening, and I can't comprehend it in the way I can a prison. But when you were doing the prison section, like, for me, the moment of the game is like that encapsulates what this game is walking up to the gallows area, having that puzzle. And Connor had a fun way to solve. You looked up the solution for that puzzle, or
for the
riddles.
For the riddles, but then when it came to the pulling the thing, I just ended up trial and error.
I trial and errored it too. Did you?
I did the same thing Connor did.
But like for me, I lined up I also could. I was too dumb to figure it out. Like I could not figure. I didn't want to read through 16, so I just lined up the notches of the puzzle to line everything up.
Oh wow!
And it worked. And also, I got quite lucky. Anyways, this thematically and from a scare standpoint, in the way that if you walk past the like puzzle area, there's just nothingness behind it. It's just black and darkness.
What was was there a horse running out there? What the fuck was that?
In the prison when you go out in the courtyard?
Yeah,
dude. That's what I was about to say. The prison is the scariest part, and that's what I was going to bring up. When you run out in that pitch black courtyard and you just hear something running around, but you can't find it or see it.
Yeah,
and
I was like, where the fuck is this thing?
You think it's going to attack you when you're trying to do this puzzle, and it's just horrifying.
I always felt that because there was a red splotch, like a save area, I thought I was always safe.
That's you ended up being safe.
That was my reasoning. The entire game was, if I'm in a red, like I can see it and I'm like with it, and there's not like a door in between or anything, I'm safe. And that was very, very nice and satisfying. I'm happy that the end of this conversation was mainly positives, because I feel like I definitely had my fair share of dunking on it when it came to a game sense. But I think that none of us will forget our experience with Silent Hill 2.
The part that I want to talk about is you do the prison, which is dark and scary and terrifying. Then you do the labyrinth, which is, I think, less so, but like still really intriguing. But you're still in a dark area. When you pop out to the lake and it's bright, oh my God.
So
I've never felt more just like, oh, thank God. Oh my God, the light. There's light out. It was so nice. So yeah, getting to that was so satisfying. I loved it. I love this game so much. I'm completely smitten with it, like we have said. Yeah.
98.
Yeah.
All right, you boys are right.
I love it. Infatuated.
Are we good? Our spoilers are now, we're good?
Yeah,
we're
spoilers
good.
are done.
All right, we are done with spoilers. We are now entering the draft. We are no longer discussing Silent Hill 2. We will not discuss Silent Hill 2 probably until Game Awards. Actually, no, we'll probably find ways to discuss this as we play more horror games and compared to Until Dawn later this year. Anyways, it's draft time, Connor. Connor, what are we drafting?
Today, we are drafting video game main characters. And we've done this before, but we got 3 people today. Brady is joining us on this draft. Who's taking the first pick?
I'm undefeated. I'm just saying that. So
I'll take it.
All right.
Give me the ball. With my first pick, I'm choosing the most storied character I love. And that is going to be Kratos from God of War. The fact that they turned a rage monster into one of the most beloved characters and one of the most impactful characters from a story standpoint, and also remain to make his combat super fucking fun and interesting. I love Kratos. He's, in my opinion, the easy 101 in this draft.
Speaking of easy 101s, Kratos was literally the first person I had on my list. I'm going to go with the second person on the list. You can kind of say all the same things you just said about this person. It's a no-brainer. I'm going to go with Nathan Drake for my first pick.
I love it.
And I'm feeling very confident about that. I like that pick.
5 games, like it works.
The number 3 with my first pick, I'm getting Arthur Morgan. Are you kidding me? That arc that this man goes through, he's one of the most beloved characters in all of video games. Just you can't not fall in love with Arthur Morgan, so he's my first pick.
The only issue I have with that pick, he's a little bit further down my board, even at the 3 or 4 spot, is 5 games for Nathan Drake. Oh, many games for Kratos. Like, there's so many iterations, and I think it does.
Arthur does more.
He doesn't do more than fucking Kratos. Come on.
Arthur Morgan is a better character than Kratos. Leaps and bounds better, dude. Leaps and bounds. Not even close.
Oh, jeez.
Kratos is like... Where is he on my list? Kratos number 8.
Yeah, a lot down there.
Yeah. And I think I would probably take guys below him. I just threw a bunch of characters on the list. So they're not really in any major order. With my second pick, I'm going to go with Master Chief. I need a weapon. I feel like I've said that exact line in drafts like maybe 50 times at this point, but that is Chief. He needs a weapon. He needs to go fight for the cause, kick back the Covenant, kick ass, take names, throw a bomb back at the Covenant in the end of Halo 2. You'll love to see it. Yeah, that's my second pick.
He's badass.
With my second pick in the main characters draft, I got to go with my heart on this one. I love The Last of Us, but which way am I going to go? Am I going to go Joel, part 1? Am I going to go Ellie, part 2? I got to go with my heart. Somebody with a little more depth, somebody we watched grow up. I'm going with Ellie. I feel like she just has a little more depth in her. I enjoy it. It's almost like we watched her grow up into the second game, and we're still watching her grow up. And it's just somebody I love with all my heart. And so I'm very confident in my second pick going with Ellie. I'm happy. I'm not going to lie. I was going to pick Master Chief, but...
I was going to pick Ellie.
Wait, you want to trade?
I thought about it.
First ever trade?
First ever trade?
No,
Come on. Yeah, I'll stick with Ellie. Who do you got, Nick?
I want to just shout out. Ellie is the right pick between the two.
Oh,
like that, 100%.
100%.
I almost feels like you don't want to take the same archetype, like this person that plays the same role because one just plays it worse. So Joel, I'm not going to pick in this spot, even though
Respect.
I think like if both were there, both of them were fine choices. With my next pick, I'm choosing Solid Snake. Great, arguably the greatest character in gaming history. Badass, charismatic, some of the greatest moments in gaming history. I freaking love Solid Snake in MGS 1, 2. Like, every iteration of Solid Snake is just so badass. And the way that he's badass like Master Chief, it makes sense, but he has way more depth. So easy choice there with my number 2 pick. Yeah, I'm going to do it. And I feel pretty good about it. With my next pick, I'm choosing a character that I love so freaking much. I love the depth of this character. I love what he stands for. Soldier, first class. I'm choosing Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Shocker.
Amazing combat and super interesting story. If you dislike this character, you gotta just continue with the story and understand why they are the way they are. It's super interesting. I like my characters to be interesting, unlike Master Chief. I like them to be awesome, like Master Chief. Cloud, Strife with my next pick.
Master Chief is more interesting than Cloud.
No,
Master Chief is
no,
definitely
he's
more,
not more interesting.
Definitely not more interesting.
I
Well, they
disagree.
both are
His
very...
backstory,
yeah.
like I know that Cloud
Yeah,
also
yeah,
does.
Cloud.
Nick. Cloud's backstory sucks too. Like I don't like
Yeah.
Cloud
Why
as
does
a
it
character
suck?
Master Chief is more badass, so you got to give it to Master Chief. Plus, he's got a helmet on. and
Cloud is the worst main character in
yeah, he's no depth. Like, I love Ghost of Tsushima, but I'm not going to pick Jin. I don't feel like Jin has...
He's the worst. He's one of the weaker main characters in Final Fantasy VII.
I would agree with
Oh,
that.
I think we aren't choosing characters. I would choose Aerith over him. I would choose Sephiroth over him. I would choose Tifa over him. Like, there's
Then go
like.
Oh my god.
But we're not doing that. We're doing drafting main
Then go
characters. And the fact,
Clive.
dude,
Then go Clive.
No, Cloud is a better character than Clive.
That is a blasphemous take. That makes no fucking sense.
Honestly, I might take that
Pick
one back.
Clive, Connor.
I'm
Clive.
just really
I'm
passionate
not
about
going
this.
to.
I might need to take that one back on the Rebuttals podcast.
On the Rebuttals podcast. Stay tuned.
We do. I hope that one day we do a podcast where we can change some of our takes that we said on the internet thus far, and that might be one I need to take back down the line. But I'm sticking with it. Cloud, third pick.
You said depth, which I don't think of depth really when I think of Cloud, but I was worried you were going to take my pick, but then you said depth, and I was like, all right, this character that I'm picking does not have depth, but it has the cuteness. I've got my depth characters. I'm going cuteness now. This is a kind of a left field pick, but I feel confident about it. I'm going with Astrobot, baby.
Oh,
I'm going with Astrobot, baby. A cute little dude. You can change his outfits. He rides a fucking controller, dude. I mean, what is there not to love? One of the cutest PlayStation characters, bar none, dude.
Brady, welcome to the fucking show. I love that pick.
Boom,
Come on.
baby. Do you have Astrobot written down?
No, and I
I would
think that it's.
have taken Sackboy over him, I think.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I real quick though, I got my top three. I had Kratos, Snake, Cloud.
The top 5 has been taken at this point. With my third pick, I'm going to go with Link from The Legend of Zelda. Just the hero of time. He's all over the place. So many different adventures to choose from. Taking out Ganondorf, having a great time. He's a high seas sailor. He's riding on the horse through Hyrule Field. He's done it all. He's riding. He's a train conductor as well. He's doing all of it.
Spirit
Dude.
trucks.
Yeah, he's all over the place. So yeah, we're gonna go with Link with my third pick. With my fourth pick, we're gonna go with Commander Shepard. I fucking love Commander Shepard. Taking on the Reaper threat, taking on the Collectors, banging his way through the galaxy.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, he's out there. He's shooting. You'll love to see it. Yeah, Commander Shepard. Commander Shepard with my fourth pick.
Real quick, I had Link at my number 4. I love Zelda, and I need like this narrative that I dislike Zelda to change. I have 3 characters over him, but he's on my Mount Rushmore of video game characters all time.
Oh, that would be such a funny Mount Rushmore of your video game
For me,
characters.
it's Kratos, Snake, Cloud, Link. I think that is a perfect.
I think I'm fucking bodying you guys right now. If
I
I'm
don't
being
agree
honest.
with that.
The issue is you got Arthur and Chief.
Commander Shepard. No, you're leaving off Link, Nick. Link
that's
is
true.
a huge get.
Okay,
You are bodying us.
I will say though, you got your 1-2 doesn't match with my 1-2 though.
Yeah.
Kratos and Snake is the best
I'm just saying
1-2
the people
possible.
will agree.
All right, well, we'll let the people decide. For my fourth pick in the draft, got a lot to choose from, but I'm going to go with the right decision here. A man of little words, but very, very much depth in a lot of games, more games than Link probably.
Yes.
I'm going with our boy, the boy in red. I'm going with Mario. It's the right decision. It's the smart decision. I'm sticking with Mario, and that is my fourth pick.
So do you like vanilla ice cream? Do you like have Wheaties in the morning?
No, I like winning. I like fucking winning, Nick.
I was trying to say, it's just so bland.
Somebody
like,
has to pick Mario.
I know, but it's just like, like.
What do you got?
Shut up
get
and
it.
pick, dude.
I'm gonna take the most badass character of all time. I'm taking the ultimate badass from Resident Evil. I'm choosing Leon Kennedy. Connor rolls his eyes at the pick, but it is pure greatness. How many of your characters backflip for no reason, Connor?
He's like Cloud, dude. He's boring.
He is boring.
You got the
What?
most boring team. Well, you got
so Mario does do backflips, so I don't want to talk too much shit on your team. I've seen none of your people talk about bingo for no reason. I've seen none of your people
bingo.
do backflips for no reason. The underrated aspect of Leon Kennedy, I feel like we don't talk about enough. Obviously, RE4, one of the greatest horror games of all time, but seeing Leon go through the transformation from being rookie into becoming the ultimate badass in Resident Evil 2 is excellent. And then getting to just enjoy the ride of RE4 as the ultimate badass is fucking awesome. But that journey is terrific, and for me, I really love RE2 for that like uptick and being like, he's not scared in RE2 at the start, but like to go from like, oh, I'm a rookie into I am the ultimate badass. The fact that on this podcast, I feel very established in the fact that I can just say the ultimate badass and we all know who we're talking about. That's insane, and that is Leon Kennedy.
All right.
And then
Take your final pick.
My last pick.
Sonic.
thought about it. Ba-ba-ba-da-da-da. I'm choosing fucking Sora with my last pick. Pure kindness, pure heart, pure magic. Sora is insane that we are now this far into Kingdom Hearts lore, and it remains true that he is just pure and magical and a perfect vessel for the player to just feel joy and happiness. And what that Disney magic is, that is Sora. They made a Final Fantasy character feel like the magic you have when you watch a Disney movie. That doesn't make any fucking sense, but they did it, and that's all because of Sora. Sora's my final pick. I feel pretty solid with my team.
Do you feel Solid Snake with your team?
Nice.
Colonel.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know. Connor is kind of mollywopping us. But
No,
hopefully
don't say it, Brady.
No,
Brady, don't say it
I'm
so.
confident.
Don't say it
I think
so.
we all have great teams except for Nick. Going into my final pick, I've got no choice but to go with my heart. We kind of got all the big dogs out of the way. Oh no,
Connor's making facial expressions in this podcast.
I just adjusted my hair. What are you doing?
Dude, this guy.
This guy.
Make your pick.
I fucking hate you so
Make
much.
your pick.
All right.
This happens every time.
Yeah, no.
What are you talking about? Us teaming up against you during a draft? Never.
Show the clips. Show the tapes. With my final pick in the draft, I'm gonna go with my heart. I'm gonna go with my PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale main. I'm going with my boy Ratchet. Yeah, can I have Clank with him?
No. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you get Clank.
Ratchet and Clank, baby. It's the name of the fucking game.
He's on his back. They're basically one unit.
Yeah.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
never see one without the other. I mean, even in PlayStation All-Stars, they're
Secret
together.
Agent Clank's a game.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
They're separated in Rift Apart.
Yeah, all right. Well, spoiler. But that is who I'm going with for my final pick in the draft. I'm feeling confident. Connor.
I was a toss-up between Sora and Ratchet. Like, I think that Ratchet, the amount of games
If you're gonna go with the platforming PlayStation 2 mascot, you're going Sly. When it comes to the character.
I had Sly down. Is that your opinion?
No. I'm Ratchet for his character over Sly.
I mean,
every
I like
time.
Ratchet more than Sly.
Rift Apart makes those characters fucking
He
sing.
also has like fucking 10 games before that. You can't just talk
I
about
know.
the one game.
Oh,
Up your
but you can do
arsenal?
it with Arthur Morgan.
He only
One
has
game?
one game.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that you can't erase the backlog of Ratchet,
Oh,
which
yeah,
where he's
watch
good.
me,
He's
dude.
great.
He's great in those games, and then he's excellent in one, where
but
you
he's
just have
no
one
Sly
excellent
Cooper.
one.
He's no Sly
Oh,
Cooper.
okay.
is what
Who
I'm
would
saying.
win in a fight? I'm just saying it's 2v1.
Ratchet has a gun.
Case and point. The circle gets the square.
It's
All right.
Kismet.
It's kismet, dude.
What?
Don't worry about it. Make your final
It's
pick.
Destiny.
Let me talk, please. With my final pick, I'm gonna go with Clementine from The Walking Dead, the game.
Wow.
She is fucking awesome. She's a total badass as the series goes on. I honestly think season 2 is even better than season 1, which stars Lee Everett. But season 2, I think the choices that you have to make, the decisions that she has to go through, I fucking love Clementine. She's a fantastic, very well written character. That's my final pick.
What a pool. Way to throw your whole team out the window.
I'm just kidding. Clem's awesome.
Honorable mentions, I had Jin Sakai.
Yeah, he's just see, it's back to Cloud Strife and Leon Kennedy. He just doesn't have enough depth for me.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my favorite games of all time. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't.
He's not the reason I love
Right,
Ghost.
right,
Ghost
right.
is great outside of Jen. He's a good character. I like the other characters around him quite a bit too. It's just like he's not the star of the show.
I will say, 15 characters deep, none of us drafting Joel is pretty fucking wild.
It's another one of those things where it's like not enough depth for me. But I mean, speaking of depth, honorable mentions for me, obviously Donkey Kong, Sonic, and then the most Isaac was up there too. But
I had Isaac on there.
and then maybe the character with the most depth on my list that didn't get pulled, Steve from Minecraft.
I had Pikachu. Just if you
Doesn't count.
why they're the main character in enough games. They're the main Mon in enough games. But another one that is I want to shout out is Booker DeWitt from Bioshock Infinite. I think that like the storytelling of him being the main character and the way that it unfolds is so impressive. Like that for me, when you talk about depth in character, like there's so much character. Like that whole game is character and it's Booker, and I fucking love it.
I also had Cole McGrath from Infamous on there.
Yeah, I did too.
had Geralt from from The Witcher 3, but that would have been like just like I need a ace in the hole like for people to really care about my team.
Yeah,
so
that
real
would've
quick, I want to go and run through our lineups because
Alan
the
Wake.
people that listen to this podcast won't like have our lineups directly in their head. My team of this main character draft is Kratos, Snake, Solid Snake, Cloud, and then I went Sora and Leon Kennedy, the ultimate badass. Brady, what's your team?
I ended up with Nathan Drake, Ellie, Astrobot, who I could have taken in the 5th apparently because nobody was going to take that. I got Mario after Astrobot, which is just kind of crazy when you look back at it. But yeah, Mario, and then my last pick, Ratchet. I had Ratchet and Clank apparently.
Your team has a lot of E for everyone, you know? Like,
Hey, I like to party. I like everybody to be able to party.
I had Arthur Morgan, Master Chief. I had Commander Shepard, Link, and Clementine. I fucking bought it, you guys. I'm sorry.
We'll see. Let the TikTok comments
I do.
decide.
I think this might be the only way that I can beat out Connor or you is if somebody's just like the fact that Two Shoes got Cloud and Solid Snake is better than any duo potentially out there. But the fact that you have
Master Chief.
the fact that you have Arthur, Chief, and Link.
Yeah.
It is like Link is just such a crazy pull. It's man.
Well, we know one thing for sure. Nick didn't win.
Yeah, that's true.
That's definitely true.
Dude.
Nick picked the most like the I feel like we did this draft before and I think Nick picked like the same team he did even though he had you in the mix like somehow.
Well, it's because I got my top 3.
Yeah.
Like the Mount Rushmore of gaming characters. We'll do a podcast on this eventually, but like I feel very okay and accepted in the fact of being like, for me, it is Kratos, Snake, Cloud, Link.
Mm-hmm.
That is gaming. Those, and honestly, like I'm like those are like the most important games and gaming characters ever, except for the plumber. But like he's not interesting.
Thank you.
So yeah, like okay,
Whoa. He's got a mustache.
But
He's got a
here-
mustache.
before we close it out, can we shoot every podcast at like almost 11 p.m.?
I'm so eepy right now. I was about to say, let's close this shit out. It's almost 11. Connor, take us home.
Alrighty, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Casual Gaming Conversation. We'll see you again next week at 9 a.m. on Monday Eastern Standard Time. Peace out.
Bye.